Alrighty guys, a very warm welcome to the video. Today we are looking at Rudy Von Berg's data from the Ironman Texas, which was literally just run yesterday. He came in for a total time of 7 hours, 44 minutes 51. And what's incredible is that there was literally only 21 seconds between first place, where Rudy was, and third place. So only 21 seconds at the end of a 7 hour, 45-minute odd Ironman, separating the top three. So what does it take to become an Ironman champion in these races in 2023? Well, he swam a 58 swim with a 1 minute 16 per 100k pace. He rode a 4:05:26 was his official bike time. We'll have a look here at his Strava. It's 4:04:32, but obviously his official bike time was 4:05:26. That gave him, it's probably around the 44 kilometer an hour mark, and then had to run a 2 hour, 45:36 second marathon, which was a 6:20 minute per mile pace to win by only 12 seconds and to hold off third by only 21 seconds, coming in fast, finishing there in third. So this really just shows the caliber and the level at which these guys are racing now. If you were to go and do a 4:04 or a 4:05 bike 5 or let's say 10 years ago, you would almost be able to lose 10 minutes in the run and still be in contention for the win. The times of the super fast, extremely strong swim bike combination athletes are or have really been and gone. It is now a sport where you have to be absolutely the best, or at least world class in the swim, but more so particularly on the bike and on the run, because riding a 4:04 or a 4:05 and then still having to run a 2:45 marathon, that is by no means easy stuff for anyone, but particularly the pros. So Rudy Von Berg's Ironman Texas bike, it's great data that we have here. Obviously, we've got power, we've got heart rate, we've got cadence, and that gives us some pretty accurate data to analyze. So if we look at the ride, 180 kilometers, moving time of 4:04:32, total elevation of only 545 meters. So really quite a flat course for the distance, which will make it quite fast. And we see his average speed, which was 44.2 kilometers an hour. And he was able to do this off a heart rate of just 151 beats a minute average, 85 cadence, so nice high average cadence, decently high, and an average power of 296 watts. Now, this is by no means unheard of in an Ironman. We know some athletes like some of the top bikers, for example, Lionel Sanders, in some of his past Ironmans has averaged 320, 330, maybe not that high, well, probably 330 watts for an Ironman. But pushing the 300 watt average mark is not by any means an easy task, and he's only 75 kilos, so this puts him at around 4 watts per kilo, so quite a decent output of work, and total kilojoules burnt was 4,347 kilojoules. So this goes again to show the intensity that these guys are working at. Ironman is no longer a race of attrition, really. It is a race from the start to the finish. Got to be right up there in the swim, got to be one of the best on the bike, got to be one of the best in the run to win. You can't just be good at one or two and let that carry you through. So let's have a look at the analysis. We can see here, obviously, the course going out towards Houston and back to the woodlands, and some of the data points here. So we can see his average power, very consistent, not many spikes in there. Max power of only 560. That's not too much of a spike, really. That's probably coming here out of transition or early on in the bike, or even here later on. But, average power of 297 watts. And then if we look at his power data, watts per kilo 4, normalized power of 300, and that makes sense. Not much of a gap between the average power and the normalized power, which is what's to be expected on a relatively flat course like this. If you look at some of the more hilly courses, or even courses like Kona, where it's undulating, and you're either going kind of up or you're going down for the most part, you're probably going to see a bigger gap between average power, where you're putting out a bit more power to maintain speed over hills, and they can back it off down the hills and carry speed by getting aero. So you're going to see a bit more of a discrepancy between the average power and the normalized power. However, on a more flat course like this, it makes sense, and it's in your, best interest for race performance to have more of a consistent power output and not too many spikes or accelerations. So that makes sense there. Total energy, we've been through that, a lot of kilojoules burnt. And his average heart rate, 151. And if we look at the heart rate graph here, it looks like it's kind of up and down a lot, but really the gap between the average and the lowest here in around the 140s and up here around 160, 20 beats per minute discrepancy. It's really not that much of a difference. And this would probably be a bit of a power spike here as well. Average cadence, nice and high. I think it's good to have an average cadence of at least above 80. Mid 80s, I think, is pretty good for an Ironman. And obviously some do get into the high 80s or even 90, but I reckon that's, kind of pushing the upper limit for what you can reasonably sustain in an Ironman time trial. Average temperature for the ride, 18 degrees Celsius, max of 24, and obviously started quite cold early in the morning and then got right up there to the mid 20s or low to mid 20s later in the race. So pretty interesting there. If we look at some of his peak powers, we got the 1 minute peak power of 362 watts, the 10 minutes of 332. He held an average of 308 watts for 1 hour and then an average of 302 watts for 3 hours. And obviously his whole ride was just above 4 hours and he averaged 297 watts. So incredible bike ride, obviously very aerodynamic, obviously a fast course as well. But, nonetheless, this is a super fast bike time. And do this 10 years ago, you can probably run close to 3 hours, maybe 2:55, and be looking at a win. Now it is no longer the case. So we'll go and have a look at his run and break that down split by split and have a look at some of the data from that. So wait for this to load here. Ironman Texas run. So 42.22 kilometers, moving time of 2 hours, 45:03, average pace of 3 minutes 55 per kilometer. And again, we can see that this will be, I'm assuming this is going to be an estimated power unless is actually wearing, a power device on his shoes. We'll have a look at that in the analysis. But total elevation, 159 meters, and total calories burned, 896. Average temperature 21 degrees Celsius, and a pretty fast marathon off a super fast bike, of course. So we look at the analysis here, and what's good, I guess, for this marathon run is that you look at just the consistency. He's starting out in the 350s ish, and he really isn't dropping until the end here. But of course, this is going up a hill nonetheless anyway. Nice hike, nice, good, pretty decent average cadence. He's a pretty tall guy, so obviously he's going to take a longer stride and have a slower cadence than most, or than a shorter person. And then average heart rate of 150, max heart rate of 168, peaking here at the end, where he's really pushing to get away from, second and hold off third there as well. And we can have a look again now just at some of the pace analysis, and then we'll wrap it up. So very consistent, sub 4 minutes for the most part, in around the 350 mark for the first, 10 odd Ks. Again, nice, all these around 350, under 4 minutes. Consistent, really not dropping much at all, really not dropping in his cadence at all, and the heart rate's very consistent too. Obviously a few slower-ish, if you can call a 407 kilometer slow. That's always going to happen towards the back end of an Ironman, but really not fading at all. And then finishing the last 800 meters in a 3:32 per kilometer K pace, and that is going slightly uphill as well. So, it just goes to show the caliber of these guys, the intensity that they can work out through the entire Ironman. It's no longer a case, like I said, where you can just be good at a bike and then hold on the run and just run for dear life, hoping they won't catch you. You got to run. You got to ride, low 4 hours and still be able to run a 2:42, high 2:40 marathon if you want to be in any chance of getting on the podium or even winning the race. So that's your Ironman Texas champion for 2023, Rudy Von Berg. Hope you guys enjoyed that little breakdown and analysis of some of the data. Let me know what you guys think. I think that is very impressive, of course. And of course, you should be impressive if you're going to win an Ironman. So take care, guys. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you all in the next video. Alrighty, guys.